Welcome to the Creation to Cash Flow podcast. On this podcast, we discuss strategies to maximize your creativity and help you achieve financial freedom. Michelle, how's it going?
It's wonderful here in LA, but where are you right now? Because you are not in your normal place.
Yes, I am not. I am at the Coco House, which is a co working space in San Juan, Puerto Rico, because I'm currently in between Airbnbs. And this is a perfect spot. Shout out to my friend Cassandra who told me about this. It's a podcast studio that you can rent, which is absolutely perfect while I'm in between Airbnbs. So this has been quite the few days. I am loving it down here, especially because in New Jersey, there is smoke ravaging like the tri-state area and you can barely breathe. So I might stay down here for a while. Would hate to go back and not be able to breathe.
Yeah, I mean, why not? You work for yourself now, so you can do that from literally anywhere in the world.
Yes, these are the benefits of being an entrepreneur. So, if you have been listening for a while and you're scared to take that first step, go back and watch our other podcasts about officially starting your business and just getting started in general. I think those are the two episode titles. So, today we are going to be talking about networking with high value people. And before we get into that, it's very fun that I have a little bit of space to move and talk with my hands because I'm Italian. I like to talk with my hands when I can. So this is great. This is a nice change of pace. Michelle, what is your number one tip to start us off when trying to network with high value people?
Oh my gosh. I mean, the first thing, I have two main thoughts, okay? That if somebody turns it off after this, it's okay because this is going to be valuable for you. Number one, network, connect with people. We are literally human beings who have the capability of communicating with one another. And I'm talking to myself right now because I'm such an introvert, but just getting out and being present and talking with people and asking the right questions and showing up to something is so valuable. And it's such a gift that we have this. And I need to get out of my house more. Okay, that was number one. So all of that to say, don't underestimate the power of just communicating with others that are ahead of you or in the same season of life as you.
I love that. Can I jump in before you do number two? I have
Yes.
like a super relevant story about that. So I didn't know this before I talked to my friend Cassandra, who recently moved to Puerto Rico. But she had mentioned after the fact, and I had realized this, but I didn't really know it was like such a thing, like almost like a fad down here. When you're at restaurants, you kind of have to like flag someone down when you need help. Like when you like your waitress or your bartender, like you have to kind of go out of your way to talk to them. And I thought that was interesting because the first place I went, like I'm pretty chatty. I was excited to like just talk to like some new bartender and like have a conversation with someone, be like, hey, I'm not really from here, like, and just kind of pick their brain a little bit, and it didn't really happen. So then the next place that I went to the next night, I just started talking to the people around me. I met this great guy named Dennis and we were chatting. He has his own business. He's got no social media presence and he knows he needs it. Not only will he like likely turn into a client of mine in my startup society where I help entrepreneurs like get started with their business, but he bought my dinner for me.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
and it was so nice and cool because like not that it wasn't, it wasn't $1 million dinner, but like it's just the act of like doing something nice, and it all came from me just saying to him, like he sat down near me and I was like, hey, what's up?
It's just like the power of communication. There are people we can add value to, and there's also people who know people that might become clients of ours. It's just beautiful that we have that gift. So, yes, that is number one, which we will dive more into. But the second thing, which I think is the most important thing, is never network with a manipulative mentality. I do see this a lot, especially like Los Angeles kind of is notorious for some people doing this to try to get ahead and like stepping on people. I do just want to mention at the beginning of this episode that just don't ever do that. Do things with good intentions, a good heart. Like, do more for others than what you're wanting them to do for you. Like, I just need to communicate that because I see so many people really being so fake to try to get something that they want, but it's just in the complete wrong way and it gives me the ick. So, that is number 2.
That's a really good point. I'm glad that we like prefaced the episode with that. I was actually having that internal debate last night. As soon as this guy, like, we started, at first we were just talking about like where he's from, where I'm from, things to do around here. He told me there was a casino that I went to after and lost $400 at. So that's unfortunate and neither here nor there. Um, but then like once we started talking about like his business and he was like, yeah, I kind of like, I buy small businesses and I kind of like almost like renovate them and upgrade them. And I started to see potential for him to be a client. I was like, oh, this like really fits up my alley. But I was like, you know what? Like last time I just wanted to talk to someone at a place, like I pretty much struck out. Like I realized that like your bartender is not just gonna like sit there and chat with you the way that like they do in New Jersey. Like they'll just come pick your brain, which is kind of what I wanted. And I was like, you know what? I don't care if I never work with this man. Like, I just want to have a nice conversation. But he kept steering it back in that direction of like, so like, what's your social media account? Like, what do you do exactly? Like, what kind of people do you work with? But like, my intentions were so pure having this conversation. I was just like, I was like, how can I just add a ton of value to this man and get some value from him? Like, what's he's been here before. I was like, just tell me what's around here. What should I do? And like, it's not always about getting your next client. Yes, you should be like business minded and sort of thinking that way, but also you never know what's going to happen when you just network with someone and you don't try and sell them something. Like if I tried to sell him my program right then and there, like he's not buying me dinner and that kind of would kill the vibe a little bit. If he decides he wants to work with me later down the line, now that we've connected, wonderful. And if not, I'm just so grateful to have met him and like had this pleasant conversation and networked. And now if I need something for him from him ever, I know he lives in Arizona. He knows a lot of high net worth people. I could just send him a message and be like, "Hey, like remember I still owe you a dinner. Like I'm going to be in Arizona like in September or whatever." And I'm like, would love to buy you a meal and like pick your brain about something. So like that's how you should be thinking when you're networking of like, what can I do for someone else without having to sell them something?
Yeah, and it's not even it might not even be the person you're talking to. Like, I have so many people in this building that I live at. So many people are just successful, amazing people. And it's not necessarily them needing content creation, but they're friends with people who do. And so, of course, like, I'm not thinking of that when I'm friends with these people and going to dinner and celebrating their birthday. Like, I don't care about my business in that moment. I genuinely don't. But I've seen so much fruit and so many opportunities and clients come out of me just connecting and networking with people that aren't even in my industry, but are friends with people who need what I have to offer. So it's just like, if you just go in with a good mentality and you communicate what you do and what you bring to the table, there are people who want to eat at that table with you that they might know, whether it's them or not.
Yes, you are so right. That's like such a perfect example. And that kind of leads me into the first thing that I want to talk about with you, which is like surrounding yourself with winners.
Mm.
You chose to live in that building not just because of the sunlight and the floor to ceiling windows. You also knew that your building is full of winners and that there's some good stuff that's going to come from that. So you surround yourself with winners. Do you have any tips for someone who feels like they're struggling right now? Like they don't surround themselves with winners, but they want to. What would you tell them?
I mean, I've had to do this a lot in life, but I really do like to evaluate who is getting my time during the day or the week or the month. Like, who is it that's getting my time? And are we mutually adding value to one another that is helping us become better people and progress in life? And so it's like sometimes there are winners that present themselves, but your gap or your life is already filled with somebody else that maybe needs to be hanging out with somebody different. And it's like you've got to sometimes just like with love set a boundary and move them to the outer circle, not in a bad way, but it's just like you got to make room for the right people who are meant to be in your life in that season. And it's just like really important to normalize that. Yes, I have some friends that are going to be my friends forever, but there are friends that like I was best friends with at one point that we kind of went our separate ways and we're still good. Nothing happened, but it's like we're doing different things. We have different goals. So I think that it's very important to evaluate who is in your circle, but also be the friend you want to have. If you want somebody who is a good friend, then you need to go be a good friend. Go be an inviter. I am such an inviter. I am not the kind of person that like waits for somebody to invite me to things. And so I'm an inviter. And I love it because people are able to really connect with me and not wait for them to get up the courage to like ask me to go somewhere. Does that make sense?
That makes a ton of sense because I'm the same way. I don't know if I just have like a complex from like being young and sometimes you don't get invited stuff your friends are going to. So like from a pretty young age, I had always been the friend that like I'm an inviter too. Like I want to always make sure everyone feels included. Like let's say I go out with a group of 6 friends and one of them has to leave. Like I fight super hard to make sure that like that 6th person that had to go, like when they want to like link back up with us, like I make myself super available. I will tell them where we're at, where we're heading. Like people call me when it comes to like planning things because they know that I will answer the phone and I'm reliable. And if all of our ducks are not in a row, I will get them in a row. I will make everyone stop and be like, wait, so and so wants to get back to get like, what are we all doing? I also want to jump back to what you talked about before, like taking an audit of the people you spend your time around. And the way I like to do this, the first time I did this was really eye opening. If you look at the 5 people you spend the most time around and look at what are their habits like and how much money are they making, you will probably find that you are becoming, if you are not already, the product of those people. You probably make a similar amount of money. You probably have similar habits, right? If they're all drinkers and what they like to do for fun is go to the bar, I bet that you're a drinker too. And now that leads into like, well, what do you do? What if the 5 people you're around are not where you want to be? Just like you said, you don't have to just cut everybody off. That is not the solution. You keep these friends. If they're your friends, they're your friends. But you have to take note of where you're going, where you want to go, and where they're going. And that doesn't mean that by creating a little bit of new space for new people in your network, it doesn't mean that you can't also lift all of them up and try to help them get to your level. You don't have to force your like ideals on them, but be the friend you want to have. Help them grow and continue to learn and earn more money and share lessons that you learn along the way. But it can be challenging. It can be very challenging to try and like get someone new that's like well ahead of you into your circle and like start hanging out with them regularly. But what you can do is read their books and listen to their podcasts. Like this is networking. This is networking. If at night you always sit in front of the TV and watch Netflix for 3 hours, like what if 1 hour of that was spent reading a book by someone who has already achieved everything you want to achieve in your life? Because when people get so like rich and successful that they don't have much else to do, if they haven't already, they will revert back to sharing the things that got them there because it gives this amazing sense of like pride and fulfillment. So, any scenario you're in, I promise it is not unique. People have been around for a long time, they have lived through it, they have figured out a way through it, and they have told people publicly how they get through it. So all of your problems are not unique. You can network with people this way. When I started my business, I became obsessed, like obsessively listening to like podcasts and YouTube and audiobooks and reading books to the point where I was actually procrastinating by doing it so much and I was like not taking enough action. That's a separate podcast, but this is an easy way to start networking with those people. What are your thoughts on that, Michelle?
No, I completely agree. I love the way that you worded that. It's like they're so successful that they now have their time to just share what they did to get to where they are. It's like people have the answers that you're looking for. You just got to go where those people put those answers. And so, like, that's another good thing to think about is like, where do the people hang out that are where you want to be in life? Are they at the bar? Like, or are they maybe at a co working space? Like, I always go down, we have a co working space in my building, and there's like so many people that work from home and so many entrepreneurs that I meet just by showing up in that space, and we get to talking and we connect. And so it's just like, go where people are hanging out that have the habits that you want. Go to the gym. I mean, unless you do want to go to the bar at like 1 a.m., sure, do it. Like, whatever you're trying to build, if you are building, maybe you have a restaurant and you're trying to tell people about your restaurant opening, go to a bar. That's a great place to hang out. But you have to ask yourself, where are these people? And then align your habits and actions with that.
Yes, so well said. This is funny because it reminds me in one of my first ever life coaching programs, I talked a lot about networking, and I told people and I was like, "Look, you don't have to do this one. I know it's a little outside the box, but I promise it's going to help you." I told people to start getting into golf. I have never in my life found a better place to network and meet people because you get in these groups of 4, you're one of them, so you meet 3 other people and you're out there for 4 to 5 hours with these people where it's like in a place where it's almost like rude to be on your phone and like not be completely unplugged and just locked in on like what you guys are doing and having conversations. I have never met a better place to network in my life. I take clients golfing all the time, especially potential clients. Even if I know that like maybe I don't plan to sell something to someone, but I just want to take them golfing at a nice place and build my network. And then maybe they take me to their nice golf course, and who knows who you meet.
Yeah.
It is amazing. But like Michelle said, there are so many other places to network too. How about a library? How about like community meetups, like and Facebook groups? Facebook groups is such an easy one.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest here in LA. There's like a Ladies of Los Angeles Facebook group, and it's just incredible how many. My hairstylist, I met her there because she was posting about it. So it's just like, and I've gone to her for almost 2 years now.
There you go. There's also Reddit. I mean, there's a million ways to find these people, but the most important thing you can do is like look at yourself honestly and say, have I been putting myself in the places where I can meet the people that I need to be learning from right now? The answer is almost always no or yes, but not as often as I should be. Even myself, like as I'm saying this out loud, like I'm trying to reemphasize these things to me
Yeah.
and be like, you got to put yourself out there more and
Yeah.
more and more. There is no such thing as too much networking.
It's true. And like a lot of the people, surprisingly, that I meet are down at the pool, like at our pool. And it's just so cool because it can be something that still like I want to do. Like I grew up golfing, so I really don't want to go to a golf course. But I do love to go lay out by the pool and just like work by the pool with my laptop and my headphones. It's just like relaxing for me. And I meet so many people down there who are also there at 1 p.m. in the middle of the week because they work for themselves. And so, like, find what you like to do and then show up. Like, I'm telling myself this too. I have to show up. I have to leave my apartment. I'm such a homebody. It's not even funny.
It's I can relate to that. Also, I did not know that you play golf. Does Evan play golf?
No, I keep telling him, and every time he hears you mention that you were golfing or whatever, I'm like, Evan, you should really go. My brother plays golf, so maybe he'll invite him because they're both in LA. So maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I grew up on a golf course. Like I was golfing since I was a little kid. And yeah.
Okay, that's so awesome. We'll do another podcast on golf. Maybe I don't know if I'll be able to convince Michelle of that. Um, but anyway, here's another thing I like to do when networking. I like to inject like stories into my brain of people who struggled and then overcame their circumstances. Like I love injecting like these stories of like winners, but when they used to not feel like a winner. To me, that's like the best form of networking even if you're not meeting that person, like you're not face to face with them. When you just like keep putting those stories into your head of people that were not doing well in their business or their creative passion, like I'm talking like some of the greatest entrepreneurs in the world were living out of their cars at some point. And then they find ways to make it back, and like picturing yourself being like, "You know what? Like I'm actually doing a little bit better than I think I am. Like I'm not living out of my car. You know, like do I have some work to do? Yes, but like if this is my rock bottom and like I can slingshot up from here just like that person did." And a really good book full of 51 of those stories is called Hustle, Believe, Receive by Sarah Centrella. It's all about like visions and manifesting and those comeback stories. It's so good. It's about like entrepreneurs. She literally interviewed all of these people. So it's almost like you get to meet 51 former athlete, like she talks to people in the NBA, the NFL, business owners, like anyone with any kind of like power or influence or business. She talks to a ton of those people. That book was pivotal in my journey because it just made me realize like just because I'm failing at something doesn't mean that's when I should quit. If anything, that's just my rock bottom that's going to make for a great story. So even though I couldn't meet Sarah Centrella and I can't meet someone in the NBA and I can't meet like all of these successful business people. Not that you can't, but it's difficult. I couldn't at the time I was reading this book. I'm still, it's like I'm talking to them by hearing their interviews. Almost like a substitute for like, maybe you're in a place where you actually can't go golfing and you can't go to the bar and you can't go to the library and truly meet these people. It's a really easy way to soak up all of their knowledge. And like, that's still a form of networking. It's like you're hosting the interview and you're learning what they said. So sometimes you have to get creative with your networking.
I think Twitter is an amazing place for networking, especially the UGC community. Like, I love the UGC community on Twitter with content creators. It's just so powerful. And it's cool because I can type in UGC Los Angeles and see what other content creators doing UGC are out here in LA with me. And it's just amazing that we can then connect and network first digitally, but then maybe even in person. And I just love that. I think it's so beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing place for networking, especially cuz like when you find someone that tweets a lot, go respond to their tweets. Get on their radar. Like I did this when I went on my 12-hour walk. I posted about it a ton and I tagged Colin O'Brady, the guy who pretty much invented this 12-hour walk. He has a book about it. He's the only person, or sorry, the first person to walk solo and backpack across Antarctica. It took him 76 days of walking 12 hours day after day. So he invented the 12-hour walk. And I would just tag him in all of my stuff. And then he responded.
Wow.
And he has like a 250,000 followers. I was like, I just networked with Colin O'Brady. Like, if I ever meet him in person one day, maybe he'll remember that I'm that dude that was spamming him one day about how I went on my 12-hour walk.
Take every single conversation you have to heart. Like something that might be so mundane can lead to more if you see that person again. And it's just like, I have to remind myself this because I'm always thinking about all the things I have to do and I'm not always completely present. I'm working on it. But I've started like in the past year, I've just really started to like sit down and really like give my attention to people, even if it's in passing. Like in the elevator, I can be so to myself and people will walk in. I don't even realize somebody's there. I'm not even like acknowledging their presence. But I've started to just be like, hey, how's it going? Or whatever, comment on anything that I can think of on them, like, hey, I like your shoes or anything. And it's just like you never know when you see that person again. You already had an initial conversation. Now it can go further.
And you kind of covered something like that opening line almost. Sometimes when you have a chance to talk to someone, a compliment always works. Always works. There is no person that doesn't respond positively to a compliment. Like I got a DM yesterday from some dude on Instagram that has like 150,000 followers. I've never heard of him and he didn't have a ton of posts, so I thought it was a little strange. But anyway, he sent me a DM just talking about, he was like, dude, I love your content. Like, just keep up the good work, man. And I was like, wow, like, thank you so much. That made me so happy to read. And then in his next message, he tried to sell me something. And I was like, and you ruined it.
Yeah.
And you ruined it. And don't be that person that ruins it by like compliment and then try and sell them something. Like, that's not what networking is for.
No, and I feel like those things will come naturally if they're meant to. I'm such like a an advocate for that and just not being pushy. Like I always think of Dwight from The Office during the Valentine's Day party trying to like sell this girl printer, paper, whatever that she didn't want. She wanted a Valentine's Day date or like at their little baby whatever it's called, christening, baptism when he like stood up in the church and he's like, I will give y'all 10% off. Like, no, don't be like Dwight. Like, don't do that. Of course, it's like excessive, but some people really only have the intention of getting something out of whatever the conversation is, and it shows. Like, it really does show. And a lot of people can feel that. Like, they're intuitive to what your intentions are, which goes back to having good intentions in the first place.
Yes, you're so right about that. It really does ruin it. Like, I no longer like I followed that person with all those followers after they gave me that compliment, and then they tried to sell me something immediately, and I unfollowed them. I was like, nope, 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 not what we were looking for. So you're definitely right about that. Um, and now here's here's a really interesting thing to think about. So sometimes when you're networking, yes, it's great. Like, let's say you're making $1,000 a month. If you could get someone in your network that's making $1 million per month, like, yes, that's wonderful. But start with people that are just like a step or two above you. It's so much easier. Like, if you could find a way to get someone 10 steps above you to mentor you or teach you something or anything along those lines, great, do it. But aim a little bit smaller. Aim for someone doing just a little bit better than you that can help get you to the next step. And then maybe together you guys each take the next and like start leveling up that way. Like you have to look at things in levels and decide who is going to be able to help you the most and also be the most accessible.
Yes, I agree. And I also think that goes back to how mutually beneficial is this relationship and is this connection? Because I love helping people. I know you do too. Like, I love mentoring, I love coaching, I love sharing my knowledge, but it does get so draining after I do it all day long. And it's so nice to just like hang out with people as friends who are basically in the same sphere as me, but maybe they know a little bit more about something. I know a little bit more about something. We can share that knowledge and then get to that next level together. Like we need a balance of both. And I am a firm believer in always helping somebody one step behind you, too. So I think you need all of it. You need the one step behind, the equal, the steps ahead, and then like the ones that are probably writing the books and doing like podcasts and stuff too.
That's such a good point that like it has to be mutually beneficial. That's so important. Like, if you could provide something of value to these people that you're trying to network with, whether they're above you, below you, or at a similar level, you don't know what they're going to be able to add. So, always just like lead with that value, like, be of service to other people. Like, I gave my new friend Dennis from last night a ton of advice, and I was like, at one point I said it because he was getting a little adamant about like working with me, and I was like, dude, if you never work with me ever, like here's here's a couple of steps. I was like, just do these things and you will be perfectly fine, even if you don't work with me. So it has to be mutually beneficial.
Yeah, and I think that it's also important to do things without expecting something in return. Like I do free things all the time, and I don't expect anything in return. And so even if whoever I'm helping for free doesn't ever give me anything back, I know I will get something in return because you reap what you sow. And it doesn't have to be from that person. Like, I believe what goes around comes around. So I just give what I can give. And I know that I'll be taken care of in return, whether that's from the same person or not, whether that's immediately or not. Like, I'm a firm believer in that. And I think that that is why I can go into every conversation with good intentions, whether it's like, Lisa Vanderpump, who's a multimillionaire that I run into, and I'm just normal because yeah, she's amazing. She's a great businesswoman, but like we're on the same like nobody's better than each other. But unless I'm adding something to her, like what am I gonna do? Fangirl? Like I don't do that. And so it's just like if I'm gonna have a conversation with her, what would it even be about? It's just like I'm not just gonna be like, let's take a photo. You know, like when you run into these people, it's just important to be like, okay, maybe I'll just give her a compliment, which she gets all the time. Or I don't know, maybe I just won't say anything because she needs a break right now. That might be so off topic, but I'm just like thinking through like all the ways that I think that networking can be done wrong.
No, it feels pretty on topic actually. Like there are a lot of ways you can go wrong with it. I think you actually made a good point. By the way, do you actually see her, or is that just like
I see it, yeah, I see a lot of people. And what is that statistic? Like you're only X amount of people away from knowing everyone or something?
oh, I wish I knew. That's so up my alley to know a statistic
I
like
know,
that.
I'm shocked you don't know
I
it
know I've
now.
heard it, but I don't actually know the number. Ugh, I'm gonna kick myself all day about
I think
that.
it's
But
5.
yeah, it's not a huge amount.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, here's another really good example of like a high net worth individual like that and like getting on their radar. So Dan Locke, if you've ever heard of him, he's like the king of high ticket sales. I might have told you about this already, but I don't know if I told our listeners. I spent 10 minutes with Dan Locke about maybe 2 months ago now, and he charges like $50,000 an hour for his time. So that's how he makes it mutually beneficial and allows people to get on his radar. And I spent 10 minutes with him. The first 4 minutes was me giving him pretty much like, here's everything I got going on in my business, and here's where I'm at, and here's where I want to go. And then he took like 6 minutes literally on a whiteboard. I recorded the whole thing and like broke down if he was me, here's what he would do to get to like not the next level, to get like 3 levels up. And he literally drew a staircase and was like, you're here, here's how you get to here, here, and here. Luckily, I didn't have to pay $10,000 for that, although I did have to pay a lot of money for it. Um, I just happen to be pretty lucky. Right place, right time. I go to a ton of his events. I network with people on his team. I networked with his sales guy, and his sales guy was able to pull some strings and get me that time. So that was networking happening, working in my favor. And that was like the most valuable 10 minutes I've ever had as a business owner. Like that advice, I will be able to rewatch and listen for the rest of my life. It will always be applicable. And that's the benefit of like those people that are like 100 steps ahead of you, but at the same time, like I'm not going to be able to get that again. So you've got to take what you can get. You've got to jump on opportunities when they come. And for the most part, look for people that are just a little ahead of you, but when that chance comes along to talk to someone that's light years ahead of you, you got to take it.
Agreed. And I will say one thing too about LinkedIn, because that's also a really great place to network and connect with people. But if you are a content creator, go look up the company's name on LinkedIn that you want to work with, see who their employees are, connect with them, message them, engage with their content, find them on social media. All do all of this before emailing them. Like there are so many ways to set yourself apart if you know that there's a person that is working for a specific company that you want to work with, and just like thinking outside the box. So just again, go where people are hanging out, even if that's not friends, even if it's the PR person for this brand. Like go to LinkedIn. Are they on Instagram? Go respond to their story. Like just find them. It's creepy, but
That's a fantastic tip. That's like very similar to what I did, like talking to the sales guy for Dan Locke. Like there are so many people in between Dan Locke and his sales team, by the way, but I made friends with someone who has access to Dan. And LinkedIn literally allows you to do that and see the structure of companies and be like, if there's a certain person you want to reach, whether it's because you're a content creator and you want to land a brand deal with them, or maybe you're in a similar business and you want to pick their brain, or maybe you're in a rivaling business and you're just looking to learn from them or buy information or whatever, like that's a really good way to build your network and get in touch with the people that can connect you and take you to the top.
yep.
I think we could talk about this for hours, but I have to leave my co working space soon. I have been here for 4 hours. So make sure to follow our Creation to Cash Flow accounts on Instagram and TikTok. By the way, this is where we're going to start posting more updates and content, as well as our personal accounts, which I will drop at the end. But get in touch with us. Tell us things that you want to hear. Tell us guests you want us to bring on. Maybe you have someone in your network that you think we should meet and we should have on. Therefore, everyone gets to build their network by learning the lessons of that person. So, anytime you have anything, even maybe something you're not loving about the podcast that we could improve, tell us. We're open to feedback. And if you are loving things, drop a review, drop a rating, show some love. Show some love. It really does help push the show forward, help us grow, and help us continue to provide this amazing value that we work so hard on. So, if you're looking for more ways to monetize your creativity and find more freedom in your life, subscribe. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Get Ahead with Nick. You can find Michelle on Instagram and TikTok at Michelle JH. That is Michelle with two L's, then four E's, JH. Love you guys. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.